Video opens with a close-up shot of the speaker, seated in a study-like environment, surrounded by books. The lighting is deliberate, creating a sense of gravity and focus. There's a figure from antiquity, a name that rarely surfaces in casual conversation, yet whose intellectual shadow stretches across millennia, touching the very foundations of Western logic and ethical thought. He is a man whose prolificacy was so legendary that it was said if the gods themselves were to engage in dialectic, they would adopt his methods. We're speaking of Chrysippus of Soli, a 3rd century BCE philosopher, a titan of the Stoic school, often hailed as its second founder after Zeno. And it's no small claim that to be the second founder of a philosophical system is in some sense a more difficult task than being the first. The first founder lays the cornerstone, but it is the second who must erect the cathedral, who must systematize the intuitions, defend the fledgling doctrines against a barrage of criticism, and ensure the structure is sound enough to withstand the coming centuries. That was the monumental task that fell to Chrysippus. Now, why should we concern ourselves with a man who lived and died over 2,000 years ago? It's a reasonable question. We're buried in the perpetual now, aren't we? Drowning in a sea of immediate concerns, digital distractions, and fleeting anxieties. To look back so far seems like an indulgence and academic luxury, but that's a profound miscalculation. It's a failure to understand that the ideas we live by, the very intellectual air we breathe, didn't spring fully formed from the ether. They were forged. Forged in the crucible of intense debate, painstaking analysis, and profound personal conviction. And Chrysippus was one of the master smiths. To understand him is to understand a crucial part of our own intellectual DNA. It's to trace the lineage of concepts like natural law, the interconnectedness of the cosmos, the logos, and the radical idea that virtue is the sole good, that the moral quality of your character is the only thing of genuine, unassailable value. Think about what that actually means. In a world then as now that screams for you to value wealth, status, pleasure, and the avoidance of pain, here comes a system, championed and rigorously defined by Chrysippus, that declares all of it to be indifferent. Not worthless, mind you, the Stoics were not ascetics in that simplistic sense, but morally neutral. Your health, your reputation, your possessions, your very life, these are preferred indifferents. They are material to be used wisely or foolishly, but they do not, in themselves, determine your worth as a human being. The only thing that determines that is the quality of your choices, the state of your soul, the virtue manifest in the face of fortune, good or ill. This is not a comforting philosophy. It's a demanding one. It places the full weight of responsibility squarely on your shoulders. It strips away all your excuses. You cannot blame your circumstances. You cannot blame your upbringing. You cannot blame the gods or fate in a deterministic sense that absolves you of your agency. According to Chrysippus's rigorous formulation of Stoic physics and ethics, the causal chain of the universe fate, or hymarmene, is absolute, yes. But your assent, your internal judgment of the events that befall you, that is entirely within your power. This is the citadel of the self that no external force can breach. This synthesis of determinism and moral responsibility is one of the most intellectually sophisticated and psychologically potent ideas ever conceived, and Chrysippus was its chief architect. He was a logician of the highest order. It's said that he wrote over 700 works. Tragically, almost all are lost, known to us only through the fragments and critiques of later writers like Plutarch and Cicero. But what survives is enough to reveal a mind of staggering power. He developed propositional logic, a system that predates and in some ways rivals the predicate logic that would come to dominate Western thought nearly 2,000 years later. He understood that the validity of an argument depended on its form, not its content. He laid out the fundamental argument schemata, the indemonstrables that formed the bedrock of Stoic dialectic. Why does this matter? Because it reveals a deep commitment to truth. An understanding that if you are to live a life aligned with nature, a life of reason, you must first be able to reason correctly. You must be able to distinguish a valid inference from a specious one. You must be able to dissect the sophistry of the crowd and the deceptions of your own mind. Logic, for Chrysippus, wasn't a parlor game. It was a weapon. It was a tool for moral clarity. It was the necessary prerequisite for virtue. You cannot be good if you cannot think clearly. You cannot navigate the complexities of a human life if your cognitive map is distorted by fallacies and emotional biases. The path to the good life, the path to eudaimonia, is paved with sound arguments. So when we look at Chrysippus, we're not just looking at a historical curiosity. We are confronting a challenge. A challenge to take our own thoughts seriously. A challenge to accept the radical responsibility that comes with consciousness. He forces us to ask terrifyingly direct questions. What do you truly control? What is the ultimate basis of your self-worth? Are you living in accordance with reason, or are you a slave to fleeting impressions and external validation? Are you building your character on the solid rock of virtue or on the shifting sands of circumstance? To engage with a mind like Chrysippus' is to hold up a mirror to our own intellectual and moral sloppiness. He stands as a stark, granite-like reminder that the pursuit of a meaningful life is an arduous, intellectual and ethical task. It requires discipline, it requires courage, it requires a relentless commitment to truth and a willingness to subordinate all other concerns to the cultivation of a virtuous character. And in an age that often seems to prize comfort over challenge and feeling over fact, that ancient and formidable message is perhaps more necessary now than ever before. He is a testament to the idea that philosophy is not mere speculation. It is the art of living, and its mastery is the highest human calling.